when you live with your parents. And I actually had a guy comment under that video. And he said, I'm 32 and moved out of my parents' house at 16, moved to the West at 18, bunked with roommates until I was 21, and then started living on my own. As a general rule, I didn't start dating until I turned 18 and was not living under my parents' roof because religious and traditional parents consider premarital hooking up to be akin to being a serial killer. That's so true in a lot of different cultures. Like people get really up in arms about if somebody or their kid hooks up with another person, then it's like the worst thing in the world ever. What about like all the other things kids do, like drugs, fighting people? Like there's a bunch of other stuff that's a lot worse than you got your junk into somebody else's junk, you know? But yet it's so heavy. But that does speak to the idea that at the end of the day, cultures still understand the impact of if you go out and hook up with somebody and it's not somebody you're trying to be with long term, but they get pregnant as a result of your guys' actions, that has some definite consequences for not just you, but the family that you have as well, you know? So I think that's admirable that that's still on some level seen in some cultures as like being a very important thing. But also we have tons of ways for people to protect themselves between condoms and birth control and all sorts of stuff that idealistically people could be less annoyed about that because there are things in place to prevent like unwanted pregnancies from happening if people would only be more responsible. But anyway, so he says, I personally would never date a woman who still lives with her parents because I'm an adult, not a teenager. So I don't want to be sneaking around, hiding from her parents because she doesn't want to get kicked out or disowned for doing adult relationship acts. It would also be a massive burden to have a partner who needs permission from her parents to do anything despite being a grown woman. Can you imagine your adult partner telling you, I'm sorry, I can't go on that trip to Barbados because my daddy and mommy won't let me? Couldn't ever be me. Well, it's interesting to bring this up because I will say in my past, I dated a woman a long time ago that still, like she was in her 30s and still lived with their parents. I will say this, that is very much a U.S. American culture thing. And this woman that I was dating, she was Black, but she was like Africa Black, like from like her parents were originally from the continent Black, you know? And I have found in the course of dating that in other cultures, basically for the woman involved, if you're trying to marry somebody that is chaste and hasn't had a lot of partners, then her living at home is an easy way to curtail that. Because assuming she has like a dad that's involved in her life and a mom that's involved, if she's trying to make her parents proud, she's not putting herself out there so much to just hook up with whoever, you know? And so also culturally, I have found that for many women in different cultures, they will not let their family know that they're even dating anybody until they become the fiance. Why? Because in those cultures, unless you're getting married, it's like, what are we even talking about? Like, oh, it's cute, you're dating for a little bit, and then you go out and eat together, do a little hooking up, that's whatever. But you haven't made any commitment that indicates that you're going to be super serious about this girl to the point where you're trying to combine our families together, you know? And so I say it because I understand, like it can be frustrating at times when you're dating somebody that lives at home because, you know, to your point, sometimes you might be like, hey, come over to my place and stay the night. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that because my parents, and they'll feel some kind of way and they'll say some this and that. Like that very much can happen. I just want you to recognize that depending on the culture of the person that you're dating, it can be an annoyance or it could just be a thing that you understand that's part of their culture. And so if I love and care about this person, then I know going in that this comes with some parameters. And so and that's not a right or wrong thing. Like you as a guy could be like, I want to have freedom to do whatever, and I want my partner to have the freedom to do whatever. And if she doesn't have that, it's going to annoy me and it's not going to work out. You are totally in your right for that. But I'm saying if you found the absolute love of your life and the thing that's holding you back from getting with her is that she lives at home, but you've already gone on a few dates, you had a good time with her, you're about to ask for a relationship, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, like she lives at home. Oh my God, this is a problem. Consider that it could behoove you to at the very least see, okay, yeah, she lives at home with her parents. What does that mean for her? Like, does she live with the kind of parents that are going to judge her and she's going to feel some kind of way about that? Or is she living with somebody with parents that would be like, well, you're a grown adult, so I'm not going to put parameters on what you do. And I'm not going to say anything if you come into the house late or the next day because you're a grown person, do what you want, because there are parents that in other cultures are lenient enough to be like, we don't necessarily like that she's hooking up with you or staying over your place, but she's grown, do what you want. And that's a different situation than parents that are going to be hard-nosed and hard-pressed to be like, oh, she can't do nothing or whatever. And then she's like listening to them, So just consider those things. But I totally get the annoyance of dating somebody that lives with their parents. Because again, I've been there and it can be quite the hassle. It can also feel hypocritical at times. Like I know when I was dating somebody, like they wanted to meet my mom because she came out here to visit me one time. And I was like, oh yeah, some of my other friends have already met her. And she was hurt that I wasn't trying to bring her to meet my mom. But I had dated her for 2 years and not met a single sibling, not met a single parent, because in that culture, again, until you're getting married, it's like, what are we talking about? And so we finally had to have a talk where it's like, it was agreed upon after a few years, like, okay, we can have a sit down dinner with her parents or whatever. And so that ended up eventually being able to happen. But like, it was something that I got very frustrated about. And so I had to recognize, okay, if that's in her culture, this is what they do. And then when I got to finally meet her family, it was like, yeah, most of them hadn't. When I was talking to like some of her other cousins and relatives, and I asked the story, like how they met, like, oh yeah, we met because of X, Y, and Z. And then like, but I didn't take them to meet my parents until we got engaged. Like, oh, she wasn't kidding. That's bad on me for not knowing that, And so I think sometimes, especially in US culture, we think that our way of doing things is so correct that you could be inadvertently passing on people that could be good simply because it's like, oh, but they live at home. So, and again, the video that I made, I was talking about how you as a guy living at home, you can still date. You just have to be aware, like, A, don't lie to women, and also let them know what it is. And ideally, even if you are living at home, your parents are the kind of parents that are like not going to be all in your business and nosy, but still be respectful of their house. Like, don't be bringing girls over there to hook up with them when your mom's at home, Same thing with if you date a girl who's living with her parents, don't think, hey, can you sneak me over to your house when your parents aren't there so we can do stuff? Like, ideally, you have your own place. Ideally, you have money to get a hotel. Like, just some things to consider in terms of that situation.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high